The husband of an unconscious woman who is on life support is asking the hospital in Fort Worth, Texas, to pull her off life support. Now, Marlise Munoz likely suffered from a pulmonary embolism. That's when a blood clot or fat blocks an artery, and as a result, she has been unconscious and she is brain dead. Now, the husband says that they had a discussion prior to this happening, and she also did sign something known as an advance directive, which let hospital employees know that she does not want to be resuscitated. If she is on life support, they should let her go. Now, they did do CPR on her. It did not work, and there is an issue here that's making the case even more complicated than it usually would be. It turns out that Marlise Munoz is also 18 weeks pregnant. So Texas has a law that says that if you are pregnant and on life support, it doesn't matter if you sign this advance directive. You don't get to make that decision. The hospital cannot pull you off life support. They can bring the baby to full term. In fact, when you fill out the form indicating that you do not want to be on life support, there is a portion on it that says the following: I understand that under Texas law, this directive has no effect if I have been diagnosed as pregnant. Okay, so here's an important thing to keep in mind before we get into this discussion as to whether or not the hospital should take her off life support. As a result of that pulmonary embolism, hospital officials are unsure how long the baby went without proper nutrients and oxygen. So the baby could have severe issues as a result of, that condition.
Right. I think there's a rare situation where Texas is right. Mm-hmm. Now, in all seriousness, I believe that you have to follow the directive of the person who gave the do not resuscitate order, mm-hmm. etc. But this is a rare exception where I think you shouldn't follow that directive, right? And to be fair, it's, as you said, it's already in the paperwork in Texas that they agree to that. Now, it's a little, it's the state kind of forcing you into that paperwork. Mm-hmm. I understand that. And I get if people say, look, if you're the husband, you want to have the choice to be able to make the decision. But look, my whole reason for being pro-choice is I think it is a life form, but it's dependent on the mother. And so the mother gets to make that decision. It's not an independent life form, right? Once it becomes an independent life form and it's born or it's viable, I don't think the mother can make that decision. You can't say, well, okay, yeah, but I was the mother and now you're out, so I'm going to get to kill you. Obviously, everybody agrees you can't do that, right? But if it is dependent on the mother, but the mother basically is not conscious anymore, I think that the mother can't make that decision, so you should let the baby develop and be born, if you can. So yeah. I understand why Texas did what it did, and I actually agree with it.
So I am torn on this, right? Because you're right, the mother can't make that decision, and it was unlikely that she and her husband had a discussion about this prior to her suffering from a pulmonary embolism. Who has that conversation, right?
And we were talking about this earlier, so I want to be clear about it. Like, my wife and I have had this conversation, but in this conversation, it never comes up, oh, by the way, just in case, if you're pregnant, nobody thinks that through.
No one thinks that through.
So they had a discussion about what to do generally in this situation, but not specifically if she was pregnant.
Exactly. So that kind of leads me to side with you. But then another thing that I take into consideration is, look, in this case, since the mother can't make that decision, I mean, the person who's going to be affected by this the most is going to be the father. And if the father wants to make that decision, who are we to come in there and tell him, no, you're not allowed to?
I understand that. But to me, since the mom is incapacitated, and I view it as there's no, and look, you can disagree with this, but there's no downside to her. Because to me, as soon as the baby's out, they're going to pull the plug. I mean, just being real, right? So I would view it as she doesn't really exist anymore, but you shouldn't pull the plug, and the baby exists, the baby can grow. It's just a freak of science, that like this weird exception that we have, that the baby can grow without the mother. So I would allow it to grow. Like I've always said, if you could take babies out mm-hmm. and have them viable from the moment of conception, you can take them out from the mom. She says, I don't want anything to do with it. You want to take care of it, you take it out. And you can make it viable, then I would switch and say, okay, yeah, if the state wants to do that, they can do that, right?
Yeah.
So in this situation, we kind of have that. The state can allow the baby to develop. Now, so if I'm the dad, like let's say there's something wrong with the kid. But what if there was something wrong with the kid and you didn't know and he was born? So you don't have the choice at that point, right?
I
You
know,
see what I'm saying?
but at this point, it is not viable outside the womb. It's 18 weeks, and you're getting very, very close to viability. But I am concerned about birth defects. I'm concerned that the baby is not going to be healthy, or it's going to have, some sort of brain development issues. So I don't know. And right now, the hospital officials are saying that they can probably tell at around 24 weeks whether or not, the baby is healthy. But then at 24 weeks, I mean, you're talking about viability.
Yeah.
It's very, very risky, of course, to have a premature baby like that. But I don't know. I'm still on the fence. I feel really uncomfortable with the hospital making that decision for that man, because again, he's going to be the one who's impacted by this more than anyone else.
I understand that. And look, if I was in his situation, I'd be very concerned too.
Yeah.
So let me be clear on a couple things. One, we know if the woman was conscious. Here, we totally agree that she gets to make any decision she likes.
Exactly.
And it's the family's business, and it's not the state's business, it's not the government's business, and they should butt out, right? We also agree if the baby is viable and is born or viable, right? So if it has issues that the dad is uncomfortable with, well, sad day. Okay, it is what it is. So we're in this incredibly rare circumstance where it's kind of in the middle, because it's not the mom, it's the dad. The mom is incapacitated. And can he pull basically the plug on the kid? And I think he shouldn't be able to, even though my heart goes out to him and I understand and empathize with him. And I understand that people can reasonably disagree.